And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. WTUG HD2 Northport. W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And that, I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. Glad to have you with us on this beautiful morning. We'll be joined by DC Capstone report in just a moment. I want to invite you to get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline, live, local, and ready to get things rolling. Open for business this morning, and invite you to get in on the conversation. Also, you can join us on the various social media outlets and able to get you into the conversation with your thoughts, your comments, and your ideas. Encourage you and invite you to invite a friend. Tell them how they can get in on it. We'd love to have you be a part of helping us grow our network and our influence. So tell them about what's happening right here on Tide 100.9 with the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports. We got some of the conversation from the weekend going yesterday. We'll review just a little bit of that conversation with DC here in just a moment, as well as we will talk a little bit more about where Bama goes in terms of the coaching search for defensive coordinator. What does Austin Armstrong addition mean in terms of Alabama football? You may have something else you want to get to, and another overall statement. Just want to talk a little bit about the state of basketball in Alabama. Does Alabama make a claim on having potentially three really, really good basketball teams and two of the top 3 or 4 in the SEC? I did see on Twitter that net ranking has Tennessee at 2, Alabama at 3. I don't know how that works out, but maybe Joe or DC or X can tell us. But either way, we're glad that you're with us this morning and want to remind you, like we do each and every day, that this is a day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Good morning, DC. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good. Glad to have you guys in. Let's go ahead and look at some conversation. DC, we'll catch you up, let you speak on it. I know we've not talked, since the weekend. We'll start not necessarily on negative about basketball, but a negative situation surrounding it. That you speak on, if you'd like to share anything in regards to the Darius Miles situation, unfortunate situation for him, the family, and all those involved. But how that even though he wasn't a contributor at the time of his dismissal, how that could potentially impact this run that Bama's on.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's a tragic situation, a horrible situation to have to be talking about here. And of course, our heart goes out to the family of the one that was killed and her child left behind. And you got just when something happens like this, it just doesn't affect just immediate people involved. It affects a whole lot of folks, and it's in their families. And of course, you got Darius Miles' family that also affected by it. A tragedy that took place. His mom. And so then you got the basketball family, the Alabama basketball family, and I know you can speak to this, Martin, more than anyone else. When you're a member of a team, any kind of team where you're close knit, you stay with people for a long time. Anything that happens to anyone else on the team, it can affect the other team members. So, I think anytime that something like this happens, you start thinking about situations and relationships, and you can get in your head. So I hope, as Coach Oates said, that the players will take advantage of the opportunities to talk about this and not compartmentalize it, and try to help themselves mentally be in a good place to play. Could it affect it? Yes, it could affect their run if they allow their mind to get in a place where they can't comprehend or can't understand and are thinking about things like this without talking to someone. So I hope that all the young men on the team take advantage of the resources that are out there for them to discuss. And of course, I mean, it's a thing where you look at any type of situation like this, tragedy takes place, and you realize that there's things that are more important than basketball, and that could also be in the back of these young men's mind. But I mean, Martin, you speak to the team. I mean, you had some things happen when you were a player at University of Alabama, nothing to this magnitude, but you had a player on the team that got in some troubles and different things that affected the whole squad, I believe.
Absolutely. Well, like one of the key terms that they always use with sports teams is chemistry, team chemistry, and team chemistry is made up of all of the elements or ingredients of that team. What all of the different piece parts, personalities, circumstances, situations, talent, attitudes, etc., and they all go into this melting pot of preparation that's called team chemistry. And when it doesn't, when you take an element out, sometimes it helps chemistry. Sometimes you add an unexpected element or the wrong element, and it can cause an explosion. And so that's what happens here. It's the same. A football team or sports team in a lot of ways is no different than family, because that's who you spend the majority of your time with. So the Alabama basketball family was hit hard at a key moment, probably the watermark moment for the basketball program in the last at least 15 years or so, maybe 30 years, because even though Alabama was number one back under Godfrey, this feels different. Just feels different. And so let's talk about that high water moment. What was your biggest takeaways, DC, from Saturday?
And unfortunately, that's not what we're talking about, but we should still talk about it because that team Saturday, they put together one of the most complete performances by any team that I've ever seen. I've never seen in my years, and I followed basketball since being love basketball has been my game since I was a young man. And then when I came to the University of Alabama, of course, followed all the Coach Wimp Sanderson teams that were great teams. And just saw on the court Saturday a full team. I'm talking about from top to bottom, everyone participating, everyone contributing. And I guess the word that I will use, and you can speak to this, the difference maker in that game, I think, was unselfish. I think that team played unselfish. I think you got starters and bench players and contributors that all play with the same intensity. And I think defensively we turned up a notch and then began to feed off that defense and feed off the crowd and everything that came together for a perfect storm to have one of the best halves that I've ever seen. You have everything you want: great defense, great shooting, great ball movement, and even at the end, you have a half-court shot. So you give it all in one half there. And the only time I can ever remember watching a basketball game where the announcers were talking at 7 minutes to go in the first half, this game is over. And that's how impressive Alabama was in that first game, in that first half. And then to hear the coach of LSU say, we were just hoping they didn't beat us by 100 the way they were playing. Everyone could see Alabama was hitting on all cylinders in that game, and it was a high water mark for the team, and should be what carried them in to the rest of the season with that kind of momentum. Just really hate that this tragic event happened on the heels of that great performance.
Absolutely one of the best performances I know I've witnessed live. The UNLV National Championship game was a game that someone reminded me of, and I was like, yeah, because that was at the biggest moment and against, I think, Duke, where they beat them by like 25, 30 points, some crazy number, ran them off the court. But this team has a lot to offer and can really, I think, maybe make a nice, decent run. And we'll talk about that in the second quarter. When we come back, let's talk about this basketball team and what they bring to the table, how far we think they can go. Do we think this team has what it takes? Also, is this kind of the trap week? In football, they always have a trap game. After a big win, they always talk about that trap game. Well, is this the trap week for Alabama with the game up in Nashville against Vanderbilt? Then they take on the Mizzou Tigers, two programs that not necessarily elite, year in and year out, but for whatever reason, they seem to be a couple of the teams that Alabama can sometimes have a hard time with, especially on their home court. So we'll talk about that. And remember, the Alabama One hotline is open, so we'll get those those calls in to the program as well. You listen to the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports with Martin and Xavier. We got DC Capstone sitting in with us today.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a couple of wrecks on the interstate on this rainy Tuesday morning, both eastbound, one before the McFarland exit, the other between Skyland and Buttermilk Road. And a wreck on 69 southbound past Country Oaks Drive, but before Hillcrest School Road. If you see other conditions, give me a call. If you want a great deal on a new or used vehicle, you need to go to Townsend Nissan. Tremendous selection, low finance rates, and top dollar on your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
In a collision, easy decision. Make one call to one name. Mesrano, 206-6300.
No representation made the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance and is backed by an entire team of people you know and trust. Rent a Toyota and let's go places. Reserving yours is a breeze at TuscaloosaToyota.com.
Making a resolution to conquer your foot, knee, hip, or back pain this year? For over 30 years, the Good Feet Store's arch support system has helped people just like you improve performance and alleviate, even eliminate their pain. You too can feel the Good Feet difference. And for a limited time, get a free pair of premium shoes with a qualified purchase. That's a $140 value. Find your nearest Good Feet store at goodfeet.com. That's goodfeet.com. Stop in today and start 2023 with your best foot forward.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy, the chance of a few scattered showers today and tonight. The high today 69, tonight's low 57. Tomorrow cloudy and mild, the chance of showers during the day. Strong thunderstorms arrive late tomorrow night. The high 71. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 57 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We are joined by DC Capstone Report. Alabama is getting ready to play a big game tonight against Vanderbilt, led by Jerry Stackhouse. But before we get into that, what can potentially be a trap game, let's get to the phone lines. On the Alabama One hotline, we have Todd. We have Todd. How you doing, Todd?
I think we got Alan. I'm sorry, Todd.
Alan.
Today.
Alan. How you doing, Alan? Sorry about that.
Well, I'm not going too far out. I'm trying to hang around Alabama a little bit when I get that phone call to move the offensive coordinator to New England, I'll be already ready to go. So I'm not going too far. As far as I'm going right now is to Atlanta. So I want to be in position to come get that man and get him away from Alabama as soon as we can. But saying that, I was in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta yesterday, and lo and behold, I had to talk to a Georgia fan. I was civil with him, and me and him was talking and everything. Auburn fan comes in, and he starts talking. We was talking about defensive coordinators, and he said, "How can y'all even think about getting Jeremy Pruitt?" I looked at him, and I'm like, "Wait a minute. This is coming from the same team that hired Bruce Pearl and Hugh Freeze." I said, y'all playing for y'all in the last 2 or 3 years, y'all play in a bowl where the behind is out and it's on the trophy. So y'all are not in a position to even talk about nothing Alabama's doing right now. He got mad and left, but I just wanted to share that with y'all this morning. Really, Alabama would have never played in that Birmingham Bowl. The behind is out in that trophy. So why would you even want a trophy like that? It's indecent exposure. But hey, each his own, I guess.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, Auburn doesn't have too much room to talk about coaches that are being hired based off of previous actions, whether it be with paying players or off the field indiscretions in general, with some of the hires that they've made recently. But that's pretty funny. What the Georgia fan have to say about all of it?
Well, he's high and mighty right now, so I'm gonna let him have his 15 minutes. I'm letting them have their 15 minutes of fame because it's going down eventually. They're not a dynasty until you do what Bama did for the last decade. So ride the wave, but Bama will be back like I told them. Enjoy it, y'all deserve it. But in a couple of years, I want you to come back to visit the same conversation, and you tell me what's going on between Alabama and Georgia. But my question to y'all is this: what are we hearing seriously about the offense coordinator? Is he staying or is he going? I know his contract hasn't renewed yet.
DC,
I haven't heard too much. DC, have you?
I've heard that everything is pointing to him leaving. I mean, he's interviewing for different positions, and his contract hasn't been renewed. I don't expect it to be renewed. I think he gave a 2-year commitment, and he has some things he wants to do, and I think he's just waiting for the best opportunity for him. I mean, it's hard to say. I think his is going to be in the NFL, and a lot of NFL teams are still playing right now that he may have a chance with. So I think we'll hear something down the road.
Yeah, and what I would add to that conversation is, Alan, is that New England has made it clear A lot of stories start coming out that he's their top target, but I think DC's correct. They're gonna pull the trigger on him if he didn't land a head coaching job somewhere else. And with the way that coaches get fired in the NFL, you never know what jobs are going to be open. So I would not be surprised, but I doubt very seriously he's back here. Probably 99.99999%, because one is he didn't sign it but a 2-year contract. Number two is, has he ever signed anybody from a recruiting standpoint?
Not that I know of.
Not that I know of.
I mean, and one of your top offensive guys is usually your quarterback coach and your offense coordinator, and that's a big hit. So I mean, it hadn't hurt Alabama in his 2 years. He just signed 2 great classes, but know how Saban thinks. So I would say he's out for sure.
All right.
But I think that's a part of his contract, Martin. I don't think he was required to recruit as much as others, because I think he has an eye toward the NFL. Coach Saban knew that. I think 2 years was the maximum for both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, and we've got now Tom joining us on the Alabama One hotline. Tom, how you doing?
I'm good, Zach. Xavier, how are you this morning? Morning, Martin, DC. Thanks for taking my call. Bill O'Brien was instrumental in Ty Simpson's recruitment, finishing it off, but for whatever that's worth. But I don't think he was a dirt road sport as far as recruiting is concerned, and so that's that. But is it okay if we move? I want to talk about basketball a little bit. I want to throw some stuff at the group this morning. Get your take on it.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
And DC, this team is interesting to me in the respect that they've got something that I've been thinking of since this season started and watching them play and everything. They've got something that recent teams at Alabama have not had. And that is, I'm calling it, for lack of a better way, is basketball character. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example of against Arkansas. Our best guy, Brandon Miller, didn't score any points in the first half, right? And but he contributed all during the first half, and then the second half, he gets his opportunities, makes the most out of it, and scores 14 critical points. And but this team here, I think, has a chance to go deeper than anybody else. Not that other teams didn't have this, but this team seems to have an overload of it. If they're not giving you something on offense, they're giving it to you on defense. They're giving it to you on rebounds. They're giving it to you in effort, and they're always contributing in some form of fashion. And of course, last year is not fair to compare this team to last year because that was a train wreck. But this team is interesting to me in that aspect. I want to get y'all's take on that.
Well, I think you're spot on, Tom, on just the way the team is, and I think it's well-rounded is the word I might say. And like you said, they and I don't think they rely on any one scorer. I think it's great to have several that can score, and I think that that if you're not scoring, someone else will pick up the slack on you. But I think the defense has been the key, and I think everybody plays defense. If you look at that team last year, there was a lot of selfish play on that team. This team this year, the word for me is unselfish. I mean, they play defense, play hard, take the points as they come, not afraid to shoot the ball. And I think Mark Sears has really been a big addition to this team. I don't think people give him as much credit. I know we love the 3 freshmen that start, but I think Mark Sears has been a big key. And I think also Javon Quinley being able to relegate to the role of coming off the bench and playing some nights it's his night and some nights it's not. and still that doesn't implode the key team chemistry that Martin talked about earlier. That's why I'm talking about well-rounded part of this team. So I think you're spot on in your analysis of what's going on this year. And I think we really have our ability to make a deep run this year.
I agree. And Mark Sears, to me, is the epitome of, when it's there, he'll sure take it. But he's always engaged, and he's always giving you effort all game long, no matter what the situation is. And I tell you what, we needed that out of guard play in the worst way, and things just kind of come together for all these factors with this team this year. So much fun to watch.
Yes, and as we look at this, Tom, this team, as you said, have some special things to them. But let me tell you what probably drives as much of it as anything. What turned it for Bama was when you realize, if I don't give effort, if I just wait on my shot, there's another whole bench waiting to play, and they're hungry. This team has so much depth.
If you won't do it, I will.
That's right. They have so much depth, and when the depth swaps out, it's not like this huge drop off.
That's true.
And when you have 10 guys, 11 guys, when Namari comes back, that could all play and be better than the team last year. There's probably not a combination of these 10, 11 guys that wouldn't beat last year's basketball team. And they know that, so I think that drives effort. I think they're really smart. I think they have high basketball IQ. I think they have all of that. But I think that youth hunger and the fact that you don't want to be the one that loses minutes is making them guys, when their shot's not going, their defensive effort actually picks up instead of goes down.
Great.
When you're looking at this team, you're looking at the simple fact that they don't let their offense affect their defense. They don't let their defense affect their offense. They're going to give you, that full effort at 100%, no matter what. And, talking about Brandon Miller, we've seen the games where he's taken over, but we've also seen the games where, when his shot isn't falling early, other guys are able to step up, but his defensive effort doesn't take a hit either. And he plays hard and plays with an aggressive attitude until that shot starts to fall. And that's what's been key in some of these games in the second half when it hasn't necessarily worked for him in the first.
Most definitely. I think another key, and you've hit on a little bit there, X, is that they stick with their defensive effort no matter what. Now, you can play perfect defense on someone and get the shot clock down to 3 seconds, and still that person make a shot. And I saw last year's team, when that would happen, they walk back down the court dejected on offense. When they come back on the next two, it affects the next two series on defense. This team doesn't let that affect them. Anything that happens on the defense end of the court, whether it's good or bad, they play hard defense the next time down the court, and that's the mark of a good team.
Yeah, you got anything else for us, Tom?
I'm sorry, Xavier. I dropped him. I thought he said goodbye.
Okay. Yeah. When you're talking about that effort and everything like that, I think that's going to be really interesting playing this Vanderbilt team. Because you look at what they did this past Saturday against Arkansas, scoring 63 points in the second half. So this is a team that's not going to give up and quit on you. So I think the way that Alabama is playing basketball this year, as far as when the shots aren't falling on offense, you're still going to get that defensive effort. It's going to be key in a game like this, especially at Vanderbilt, where we've seen struggles for the last, couple decades as far as going up there and winning. That defensive effort, even if the shots don't fall, has to still be at a high level, which I think this team can do.
I think it's a very big key, and I think, as Martin alluded to earlier, the game against Vanderbilt, the game against Missouri are pivotal games in this season for Alabama because of the mental aspects of what they're going to have to face. Twofold, coming off of a big victory, but also coming off of a big tragedy. And if they can play through these two games and come out with victories and maintain their defensive intensity and maintain their mental awareness, then it's very, I think it'll be a telltale sign that this team is where it needs to be at this time of the season to make a big run in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, you got anything else, Di?
No. Let's get the break here. You listen to the Martin Houston Show powered by MaX Sports. We have DC Capstone Report on the conversation with us. We can get you in on the conversation as well. You're listening to Tide 100.9 on your radio dial, and we appreciate your support. We'll be back in just a moment.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a couple of wrecks on the interstate on this rainy Tuesday morning, both eastbound, one before the McFarland exit, the other between Skyland and Buttermilk Road. And a wreck on 69 southbound past Country Oaks Drive, but before Hillcrest School Road. If you see other conditions, give me a call. If you want a great deal on a new or used vehicle, you need to go to Townsend Nissan. Tremendous selection, low finance rates, and top dollar on your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
They say they'll get your biggest tax refund. Jackson Hewitt says your biggest tax refund guaranteed, and a chance to double your tax refund. Thousands in weekly prizes during the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. Your biggest refund times 2, twice the money, so forget about them. File your taxes on the double at Jackson Hewitt today. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal tax return. Promotion ends 4/2/23. Visit jacksonhewitt.com for rules.
Hear ye, hear ye. Thanks for coming to the town square. First, I'd like to tell you about Steve. He's a plumber. I hear he does good work. Also, Tim. He's this new thing called a dentist. Oh, and Monica, she has a new vegan restaurant. I didn't even know that was a thing yet. Anyway, if you need those things, just wander around town and try to find them because the internet hasn't been invented yet, so I don't know.
Well, this isn't the olden days. Now word of mouth has gone online. At Town Square Tuscaloosa, we can show you how to harness the power of your existing word of mouth and amplify it online. Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free local customer analysis where you can see how many local customers in Tuscaloosa you could reach online. Visit townsquarelocal.com and be the town square today. That's townsquarelocal.com for a free local customer analysis where you can see how many local customers in Tuscaloosa you could be reaching online. Visit townsquarelocal.com today and be the town square.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We're talking about DC and DC Capstone Report. We're going to talk about the defensive side of the ball for Alabama football with Pete Golden leaving. DC, who do you see as being the guy to replace Pete on to take charge of this defense?
Well, I mean, with Pete Golden leaving, I think you got a situation here where Alabama's brought in someone now that's going to theoretically, I think he can coach linebackers. So I think who they get for their new defensive coordinator is going to be someone that can help probably in the defensive backfield with Charles Kelly leaving. That's what I'm thinking. So you got several options out there with the big names that we've heard about. Schumann from Georgia, of course, and Jim Leonard from Wisconsin, and Pruitt, I think. In my estimation, based on the way they've set it up, if there's any way that Pruitt could come back, I think that would be the guy that Alabama would go after. However, in the last few days, Charlie Strong's name has gotten a lot of traction out of Texas. Maybe a 2-for-1 there with him and Bo Davis coming to Alabama. So I don't know. What do you think, X? Where do you think we go next in the defensive? I mean, with this new guy coming in, it seems like he's going to his past has been coaching linebackers. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's something interesting when you look at the way that the Coach Saban has had his DCs. His DCs have normally coached the linebackers, and so it's an interesting move to hire Austin Armstrong and not make him the defensive coordinator. So I think you could see, in my opinion, if you're going to have Armstrong come in and coach linebackers, I see Jeremy Pruitt with his experience coaching DBs, or Jim Leonard really being the two guys that it seems like we're going to go after. But because you smart coach inside linebacker, Pruitt coached inside linebackers when he was here. Pete coached inside linebackers when he was here. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's that switch in philosophy and having that DC end up coaching the secondary. But all of those guys also had experience coaching DBs as well. So I think that's going to be interesting.
Xavier there. But Xavier, I had to disagree with you. Kirby and Pruitt both coached DBs. So
they had experience coaching DBs, but if you go back and look at their title, they were the DC inside linebacker coach. Like, he coached the DBs before he took over as the DC, but as his time as DC, he was coaching inside linebackers.
I don't think it matters where they coach, what position and what position experience they've had. In my opinion, when you can coach, when you know football and understand football, you can coach just about any position if you understand the game. And if this young man at 28 had caught enough eyes to be a defensive coordinator, he probably could coach just about any position. It'll be interesting to see, ultimately how they line up in terms of where they move them. But DC, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of interesting to see how they would line up too. But my thoughts is I believe Coach Saban is like somebody that he's familiar with. So if I were to line them up, I would say that Jeremy Pruitt would be, if they can get him to come back, and if there's no NCAA baggage out there, I think that's what they'll look at first. Because I don't think they want to do anything that would hurt Alabama's recruiting process down the road, or not be able to recruit or have any kind of restrictions. So I think that would be the number one thing looking at Pruitt. Secondly, I think he's familiar with Schumann. His opportunity, his time to be here, I think he would be attractive. And I think Charlie Strong, of course, here as an analyst, would be attractive. And I think Jim Leonard would be your outside person that's available. The thing right now I think we're waiting on is Pruitt, some kind of answer, because Schumann, Leonard, and Strong are already available should they want to make the move. So I tend to think that they're waiting on Pruitt. He'll be your top choice. And if he doesn't come, it's because there's some restriction that's going to be labeled against him for some reason. So that's kind of my theory.
And when we're talking about the possibility of Charlie Strong coming back and potentially Bo Davis, what do you think that does for Freddie Roach, especially if Austin Armstrong is coming in to coach the inside linebackers? Does Freddie stay on staff? Does he make a move? What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's kind of the wild card there. I don't know about Freddie Roach. I know that the people at Alabama love him. I know they know he's a great recruiter. I think losing Pete Golding is a hit to recruiting. I know some people didn't like Pete Golding, but I think he's one of the best recruiters in the Southeast, especially that Tennessee I'm sorry, that Mississippi, Louisiana quadrant there. So I think Freddie Roach does a good job of recruiting. So it's very possible that he'll still stay around. May have a different role, but still stay around with the team.
Let me ask you a question, X. Let me ask DC a question real quick. DC, does what you just described explain why a Kiffin would be interested in taking, excitedly taking a Pete Golding? People are saying that he owes Saban a favor. I can tell you, I don't care what kind of favor he's saving. He's not going to take a coach just because Nick Saban wants him to at this point in his career, because Saban has rehabilitated him. The fact that Pete is such a great recruiter make sense? Because if Pete couldn't get the job done against Ole Miss and others with Alabama's talent, he can't. I mean, what's going to make him that all of a sudden, unless is he feels like he's going to give him the freedom and that recruiting element is worth the upgrade at the position.
Yeah, I think two things you just mentioned there are key in that. And I'm hearing this from a lot of Ole Miss, have some connection with some Ole Miss supporters and boosters and different things. And what I'm hearing is exactly what you just said. He's attractive to Ole Miss because of the recruiting, Mississippi, Louisiana recruiting. The number one thing anyone knows about Lane Kiffin is he doesn't really like the recruiting process. That's not his favorite thing. He does it, and he can get out there and hit the road, but he doesn't like it as well. If you had someone like Golding to come in and really get things done on the nitty-gritty, and then he comes in as the closer, and I think that's the kind of idea that he would like. That's not what he's had at Ole Miss. He's had to do it all to be able to get the people in. I think that's very attractive. The other thing that's attractive for Golding is, and for Lane Kiffin in his recruitment of Golding, was, hey, come over here and let's see what you can actually do under your system. Take the best of what you've learned, but you have the freedom to run your system, your defense. No handcuffs by what Coach Saban wants you to run or how he wants you to do it. You come over here and build your system and see what you can do. That was attractive for Golding. I think it was something that Lane Kiffin's able to turn the keys over to defense to him and say, hey, do what you want to do. Whatever you've always wanted to do at Alabama that you couldn't do, you were restrained from doing. Do it here in Ole Miss, and let's see how you can do it on your own. And I think it was attractive for both sides.
Could you imagine this team? We talk recruiting and how good of a recruiter Pete Golding is, how good of a recruiter Freddie Roach is, and then you look at Charles Kelly. Those were, I think, Alabama's top 3 recruiters when it comes to overall, and then especially when you look at the defensive side of the ball. Do you all see it potentially taking a hit in recruiting, losing 3 guys of that caliber of recruiters this coming up year?
Well, I think it could definitely we could see a hit there, but I think it could contribute too. That this is a high year for Alabama recruiting, one of the best recruiting classes ever. So I'm not sure you're going to match that next year, no matter who is recruiting. So you could blame it on that. You could blame it on just a year after the best recruiting class ever that Alabama's had. But I think you're going to definitely see some. Pete Golding's leaving is going to see some, a big hole to fill there. So who Alabama gets to come in as the next defensive coordinator, will say a lot, because that person is going to need to recruit as well. And Charles Kelly. I mean, we don't say enough about Charles Kelly. That man stuck around after he'd already got his position at the next level of the coordinator with Colorado, and kudos to him and to Deion Sanders for allowing him to stay and help shore up the best class ever Alabama's ever had. But those 3 guys are the main reason that Alabama had that recruiting class that they had, and 2 of them being gone, possibly potentially 3, would definitely be a big hole to fill on the recruiting side.
That
I don't have anything else to add to this.
Yeah. And I think that could potentially take a hit. I mean, whether you're looking at it from the standpoint of the number 1 class that Alabama has ever signed, one of the top 2-3 classes that has ever been signed, those 3 guys are key targets. That's why I think we figure out a way to keep Freddie Roach around for at least another year, potentially, and see what this next coordinator can do before we try to replace the top 3 guys that we have in recruiting. Switching over to the offensive side of the ball, we talked before the break about Bill O'Brien leaving and going on to potentially back to the NFL, looking like the Patriots is the place where he lands. DC, where do you see this Alabama team going as far as offense coordinators? We see Garrett Riley leave TCU to go to Clemson almost immediately after the national championship game. Where does Nick Saban want to go with this offense?
That's a mystery to me. I really haven't heard anything. None of the people I know that have connections have said anything to me about that. I don't think that Garrett Riley was on his list. I think that he has a short list of people in his pocket, and I think it won't be a surprise to him. It may be a surprise to us who he picks, but it won't be a surprise to him because I think he's known for quite some time that Bill O'Brien won't be coming back. So I just don't know. I haven't heard any names surface. Are you hearing anything?
I mean, I've heard a couple whispers. I did hear the whispers about Garrett Riley, but I think that was more just fans wanting him because of an explosive offense and a young guy. But Jeff Levy, who was at Ole Miss, is at Oklahoma now. I've heard that he's a potential option, and of course, you're going back to the NFL. Cliff Kingsbury. I'm not sold on Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator. Not that he's not a good one. But in the SEC, you have to be able to run the ball and run the ball successfully. And that's not something that any of Kingsbury's offenses have been able to do at a high level. They've been okay run teams, but nothing great. But Levy brings a good balance as far as his play calling. And I think with this Alabama team that's coming up here, you're going to be starting a young quarterback, whether it's Milrose, Simpson, one of the 2 true freshmen coming in. So you're going to have to be able to be balanced on the ground. And with the stable of running backs that we have, Jay Shordell, Jamari Miller, and as well as Haynes and Young coming in, you're going to want an offensive coordinator that is committed to the run game. But that does have the RPO aspect of it and being able to move the ball through the air as well. So that's probably where my opinion is leaning is towards Levy. You got anything on that, Dad?
Yeah, I would say that Saban, of course, when he loses recruiters, part of his criteria, those KPIs that he's going to look for in his next coach is going to be, recruiters. That's why I think Schumann becomes a great option from Georgia from the defensive side because, he's known as one of Georgia's best recruiters, as Blind Squirrel and Curtis Lewis talk about on chat. But the other side on the offense, I think, like you said, it's going to be mission critical that you get a coach who understands the condition of his playmakers and skill set. Got a lot of receivers, but they're young, and you're going to have a young quarterback unless something happens unexpectedly in the portal. With that said, you better have a good tight end, which Saban, they've taken care of, having some young guys and getting a transfer portal guy, and then the other guys is going to have to understand you got to use guys as running backs and in the run game. So I totally agree with you on that. The other thing I would add to that conversation is, guys, I'm telling you, based on what he gets on defense coordinator and recruiting wise, don't be surprised if Saban doesn't go back to one of his old familiars. Even though he went with Kiffin had a pedigree. He went with Sark, pedigree. Loxley, pedigree. They may have failed as head coaches, but they had all ascended to what? Name the last time we had an offensive coordinator that was not a former head coach.
Major Applewhite.
Yep.
No, I mean, I think that what was it, Nussmeier?
Nussmeier.
Who didn't Kiffin replace Nussmeier? I can't remember. It's been so long. But I think that I know the last 4 have been all former head coaches and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks with that. And unfortunately, one of the names I heard early and still hear occasionally is Judge, who also has Alabama ties. So, and was the former New York Giants head coach, but not for long. So All right, we need to get the break here and come back. We'll have a 2-minute warning right here. Get DC's closing thoughts on Bama versus Vandy and Missouri. Close that out. If you want to join it, you better get in right now. 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got several wrecks on the board this morning. Got one on Alabama 171 before Kurt Cunningham Road. You can expect delays. 2 wrecks eastbound on the interstate, one at mile marker 78, one at mile marker 72. And we now have one westbound at the Brookwood Rest Area. If you want a great deal on a new or used vehicle, you need to go to Townsend Nissan. Tremendous selection, low finance rates, and top dollar on your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good morning. This is Mary Kay from the Town Square Media Tuscaloosa News Center. And Alabamians face yet another round of possible severe weather this Thursday that could start in the overnight hours and last into Thursday afternoon. The potential threats are damaging winds, hail, and possible tornadoes. And for the latest on Darius Miles, the Alabama basketball player that was charged with capital murder in the shooting death of a 23-year-old woman early Sunday morning. Log on to TuscaloosaThread.com.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curb series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, LLC.
In a collision, easy decision. Make one call to one name. Mesrano, 206-6300.
No representation made that quality legal services to be performed. It's greater than quality legal services performed otherwise.
Your friends at BMW of Tuscaloosa are thankful for a great 2022. Their commitment to the future is to make 2023 an even greater year for their customers, employees, and friends. They're proud to be the exclusive West Alabama home of the ultimate driving machine, the incomparable BMW, plus an all-star lineup of pre-owned BMWs and other specially selected used automobiles. Whether you want prestige, performance, dependability, or help with financing, come see the good guys at BMW of Tuscaloosa, Skyland Boulevard East, BMWofTuscaloosa.com.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. As we get ready to wrap things up, we've got a quick call from Pat on the Alabama One hotline. Pat, how you doing this morning?
Good morning. Hey, XO, have you heard anything about Quay Rousseau and James Smith? Are they enrolled yet? They were supposed to enroll early, but what Alabama has crazy rules about graduation requirements, and I'm just wondering what's the storyline latest?
Yeah, I did see that. I'm not 100% sure exactly what that issue is. That's something that we will clear up with Hank on Thursday. But just tune in Thursday, call back in, and I will be able to get you the answer to that. But as of right now, I'm not 100% sure what the issue is.
All right. Yeah, and what you guys are talking about on defense, as long as we get Bo Davis to come back and save this defensive line and feed the guys gunpowder instead of pepper in their eggs, then hey, we're gonna be okay. Y'all have a blessed day.
Hey, we don't have to get to this conversation, X, but Curtis threw up something. Now, if this were to happen, look out. And I don't know who we would lose, but he said we're gonna get Jeremy Pruitt back because he's gonna be rehab, but he's just gonna be the safety coach, and then we're gonna get Schumann as the coordinator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That would be.
Do what?
I said that would be very interesting if that happened.
That would be amazing. X, take it.
Yeah, yes, it would be. DC, as we're getting ready to close out, we have Alabama at Vandy tonight, as well as Missouri. What's going to be the keys for Alabama to win these two games this week?
Well, the first key is always playing Vanderbilt in Vanderbilt's home court. It's a difficult time to play there, so it's getting everybody that's not played there, these freshmen who's not played there before, acclimated to the arena, and the shooting always wanes when you get to Vanderbilt. So that's the number one thing. Second thing I think is overcome the tragedy, get their heads right mentally. But then you talk about basketball X's and O's. You got a Vanderbilt team that never gives up, that really plays tough and hard. Their coach, they have the kind of the makeup of their coach and their mindset, NBA style, run the court, play hard defense, get back fast on defense, beat the boards. If Alabama can win the rebounding battle in this game, which I think they can, play hard defense like they have been before, and let the offense come to themselves, I think they can win this game. But as Martin said earlier, I think this is the big trap game for them. How are they going to perform coming out after experiencing this tragedy, experiencing the highs that they had against the LSU game, and then on the road there, and then what happens in this game will probably tell you what's going to happen in the Missouri game that comes up at the end of the week. I think two pivotal games, but against Missouri, same thing. They got to play win the rebounding battle and play a tough defense on the road, and it's kind of hard to do that in the SEC. So I look for these to be trap games. I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama lost one of them, but if they play up their potential the way they've been playing, I think they can beat both of these.
All right, man. Thanks, DC. Thanks, X, for a great show. Joe, thanks for pressing all the right buttons. Thanks to all the callers, listeners, viewers, and chatters for joining in this morning. Great conversation happening there for the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports. I'm Martin. That's Xavier. That's DC. Check out DCCapstoneReport.com for more information on what he has to offer. Remember this: trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding in all your ways. Acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide out to everybody, and we'll catch you on tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center.